In this video, we're talking about gold, silver, and GBP-USD. So starting with the gold chart on the 4 hours time frame, last week Friday we had some really nasty price movement to the downside, right? So it took weeks to slowly grind towards the upside. If you've been following up my weekly analysis, you'd have caught most of this movement over here, but took just barely 2-3 days, I think, to get the price of gold dumping from these highs all the way down to these lows. So for me this week, gold mostly is gonna be it's gonna be a setup that requires patience, right? Because there's clearly no pattern, no structure to trade. Though market structure overall still looks bullish, but if you're gonna go on this trade, if you're gonna go for a long positions, where would you place your entries, right? So for me, this week, I'm going to be patient, see what happens. If price comes into this area of value, which coincides with the trend line on screen, then I'm going to look for opportunities to go long. If we don't get a bounce, then I'm going to look for opportunities to go short. So probably something like this, right? Followed by a consolidation and then a bearish break out to the downside. So for now, trend is still bullish. 4 hours time frame, we just have to stay patient because there's a lot of volatility right now in the market, and you can see that from what happened on Friday. So repeating once more, for gold, it's going to be a moment of patience to see what the market does. On the RSI, we're slowly getting towards the oversold level. But for now, there's clearly no reason to go long or go short. You just have to be patient to see how price reacts with current price levels, right? So something else to pay attention to is if you take notes, we've been closing most of the gaps created along the way where we rose up to these all-time highs, right? So we've closed this gap over here, we've closed this one over here, we've attempted to close this but not quite. So there's a good chance we see price coming all the way down to fill up this gap, consolidating before going higher, right? That's one. So secondly, if we do get a move into this area of value, closing that gap over there, then we could get a bearish breakdown, bearish breakouts, anyone, followed by a move up, right? The reason is because we have a good area of support over here, right? So this is a very good area of support to pay attention to as well. Even if price comes down here, the trend will still be very, very active as a bullish trend, right? Because it's simply going to be a higher lows, right? So low, low, low. So this low, if it stops here or ends here, then it gives us a clean area of support that could possibly lead price going higher, right? So another reason why I think there's a good chance we come all the way down to this area of support is because, speaking about gaps, we have one over here. So if we come down to fill up this gap, then we'd have validated this area of resistance, and we have one over here as well, right? So many gaps to get filled, and if we do get a consolidation and a bearish breakout to the downside, this area of support could be a potential price level to set your take profit target, because then most of the gaps would have been filled already, right? So that's my brief outlook on gold. Nothing much to see here. For me, I don't see any reason why you want to jump into a buy position right now, or why you want to go short right now, because market is extremely volatile, right? So there's so much volume in the market. Traders taking profits, traders getting liquidated because so many people opened high levered positions around these price levels, right? So that's the reason why we had this cascading effect towards the downside. I think overall this is a total of around 10% dump on gold, or 16% as case may be, which is very, very unusual for a massive commodity like gold, right? So that's why I implore you to be careful, stay patient, and wait for clear-cut chances, opportunities for you to take advantage of the price movement on gold. So for me, first case scenario to go long, for example, would be waiting to see how price reacts with this area of value. If we do get here, because the stronger area of value as this area of resistance turns support coincides with the trend line you can see on chart, then forget a bounce followed by a consolidation, bullish breakout to the upside, then this could provide us with a very good opportunity to go long, right? Meanwhile, if this doesn't hold, then we could see a move to the downside, consolidation, followed by a bearish breakout to the downside, which will lead to a bounce off this area of support, right? Possibly, right? I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but it's just my thought process. And if this happens, I'm likely going to take a short position, aiming for these lows over here, where I look forward to scaling up my positions and watching out to see if we do get a bounce or a low. So meanwhile, this movement to this area of value may send the RSI into the overbought level, into the oversold level, excuse me. And if we go further down, then I think this is going to further drag this RSI into the oversold level, which would mean building up momentum over these price levels for us to see price going higher. That's it briefly for my outlook on gold. Moving on, we're talking about silver. So silver, similar structure to what we have on gold. Massive flash crash towards the downside, gaps getting filled, right? I think we have one gap here that's gotten filled, and there's one over here that hasn't gotten filled, right? But I think we came close. But for me, I want to see silver holding this area of support, right? So even if gold goes down, I want to see silver holding up this area of support quite nicely for a bounce if this trend is going to continue, right? Because if we lose this area of support, then that will be silver putting in a macro lower low, right? So if silver breaks this area of support, breaks this significant area of support, then we look forward to putting in a lower low, which wouldn't be good for silver at all, in my opinion, right? Because gold could make more, bearish move to the downside, and silver could just stall because this is a very solid area of support, right? So that's it briefly for silver. Nothing much to do right now at the moment, because we have extreme volatility, extreme volume in the market, with traders deciding where to head next. But mind you, price is currently has currently gone into the oversold level, which means there's a good chance we see bullish momentum returning back to the market. But before that happens, we want to see clear indication that the trend is has confirmed its continuation, right? So that would mean price coming down here, for example, very good spot to load up some positions for long, then get consolidation, good structure, and a good breakout to the upside. So if this happens, then this will be your confirmation. So something like this, it could be any structure, right? But something like this will be your confirmation that the trend intends to continue, right? Then you go long after the breakout from the structure, bouncing off of these lows, right? Aiming for higher price target. So this is how I'm going to approach the market this week with gold and silver. So I'm going to be patient, wait for consolidations, wait for confirmations, and wait for the volatility to die down, right? Because never try to catch a falling knife, right? So this is called a falling knife if you've been trading for a while, and you just stay patient, stay grounded, employ good risk management, and wait for the right opportunity to go long, right? If this support does hold. So lastly, we'll be talking about GBP-USD. So GBP-USD, very good charts. Going to the daily time frame, for example, you can see we've had this consolidation that's held for months, over 7 months worth of consolidation, which now looks like a bullish flag. And we had a good breakout from this area of resistance. Right now, I'll be watching out for a consolidation, so something like this, right? Then a move to the upside. Excuse me, I'm going to do this again. So I'm going to watch out for some sort of consolidation like this before we go long, right? If this happens, then this is going to be a very good opportunity to go long, in my opinion, because consolidation, good bullish breakouts, and then another mini consolidation before we go higher, right? So going back down to the 4 hours time frame, for example, so I can show you what I'm watching out for clearly, right? So we had this massive move to the upside, clearing this area of resistance. Now I'm going to be watching out for first case scenario, a consolidation like this. So this move to the downside could end at any time. So a good consolidation like this, followed by a bullish breakout to the upside as some sort of continuation, right? So similar to what we had over here, but I expect this one to be quicker. And if this happens, then you want to go long after the breakouts. So something like this. Then you go long after the breakouts. Stop loss can be placed underneath the consolidation list of the breakouts, and you trail your positions as we go higher, or you use the previous highs as a target, right? So going back down, so I'm just going to go to the daily time frame, for example, so I'll show you what I'm talking about. So you could use these highs as we climb higher as your price target. So it could be first target here, second one here, right? Because this is going to be the nearest local high, right? Local swing high. So that's it briefly for GBP-USD and this week's analysis. This is the only reason why I'll be going long. Other than this, I'm just going to stay away because currency pairs can be crazy sometimes, right? So something else to watch out for would be If we get an extended, movement to the downside, so something like this, let's see. So if we get an extended movement to the downside, so we may get something like this back into this area of value, then we get a bounce, right? So we get a bounce, then see price going higher. So if we do get a bounce, then this could even give you better opportunities to go long, right? Because this is going to be a deep value zone to look for opportunities to go higher. So going to the 4 hours time frame, right? I'm just going to get rid of this. So give me a sec. Get rid of this, and on the 4 hours time frame, yeah, so that will mean watching out for a price decline into this area of value, consolidation followed by a bounce, right? So when we get a bounce, then entry could be placed after the breakout restructure, which signifies a bullish continuation. Stop loss can be placed underneath the retest or the bounce, and first take profit target could be around this high, second one here, and third one here. That's it briefly for this week's analysis. If you love the content, please like, subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you're not part of our Discord community yet, use the link in the description below to join the Discord. So if anything changes with gold and silver, I will share my opinion there. That's from me guys this week. See you next week.